Hey you guys, my name is Noémi. I'm the creator of the sewing patterns at The Christmas Lady, and today is quite a special day because this will be the first time that I'm making a step-by-step tutorial video for a plushie of one of my patterns. Actually, this is for the opossum, the pocket size, but you can also make them a tiny bit bigger. They are my September Patreon rewards pattern, so that means that they are an exclusive pattern which is only available to patrons. But if you are seeing this video at another time, a later time, and you still decide to join my Patreon, that means that you will still get access to this pattern and all of the other patterns that came before you joined. But becoming a member costs $5 per month, and you get an exclusive pattern every month. That means that I'm making a pattern every month that nobody else is ever getting, not on Etsy, not on my other website, and nowhere else. You also get some sneak peeks that other people don't get to see before you do. So my other social media will always get the sneak peeks later. And another feature, another gift actually, is that you get a 10% discount code every month sent to your email personally for you, that you can use with any of my shopping patterns, my sewing patterns in my shop. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to show you how to make the big guy today. Why? Because this is the easiest one. This pattern comes with 4 variations. 2 in this size, but 1 with the toes, which is the most difficult one, and also 1 with the rounded feet like him. And then 2 in this size with the rounded feet and the toes. So these guys, they start from beginner level to advanced. So that means that if you are a beginner sewist, I would advise you to start with the bigger opossum with the round paws. They still have plenty of small pieces in them, but it's doable, and I'm taking you through it step by step, so don't worry too much. Also, if you're at a place where it's hard to get minky, which is the kind of fabric that I'm using, don't worry, you can also do this with fleece or you know, any other kind of soft fabric that you might have in your local shop. Yeah, that's it for the intro. I am just going to go ahead and start with the first step, and I wish you all good luck. Hey guys, so the first thing that you would have to do when you download the pattern is open the file that you got with the zip folder, and you will see that there's 9 pages in there with the tutorial step by step, so you can also follow it written. But there's also 4 pages with patterns. Basically, it's the same pattern of the same opossum, the pocket plushie, but there's a small difference in that sense that there's a big size for the opossum and there's a small size. The smaller sizes will both be more difficult because it's just smaller parts and a little bit more advanced for people who know how to work with small pieces of fabric, especially if you're working with minky. But the 2 bigger ones are definitely easier. They are like this size. Yeah, it's not probably not showing on camera to have an idea how big, but yeah, those are bigger, so it's natural that those are easier. What's the only difference between them? Well, actually, if you look at a pattern from this is the large size advanced beginner, and this is advanced beginner because it has the toes, so the toes on the legs. The toes are definitely small. They are finicky to turn right side out, to sew around the corners. So that's why I make those the more difficult ones. And as you can see, the difference is that with the easier patterns, it will just be a round foot. It may look strange like this, but you guys maybe know the Nordogs, like the little small foxes that I make. They have the same kind of rounded legs. There's just a difference with the opossum that it's separated between a black and a pink part for the legs. So yeah. All right, so that's it. The first thing that you have to do is decide which of these 4 that you want to make. Go ahead, click on them and print them out. For this tutorial for this video, I am going to, I want to show you guys what it's gonna look like with the rounded paws. So I will do one of those, and I will take the big one. So I will make the absolute beginner pattern, because it's easier to show you guys what I'm doing on a bigger pattern, and it can also show you what the rounded legs will look like, so you have an idea. So yeah, let's hop into it. And then obviously, after printing out, the next step is to cut out all of your parts from your pattern. Okay, so with all of the pieces cut out, you should have something like this. The only thing I didn't do yet, but that you definitely should do, is poke a hole where the eyes need to go, make a little cut where the ears need to go and where the tail needs to go. This way you can trace with your marker in those lines and you can see it on your fabric. Just as a comparison, this is the big body that I cut out now, and this was the small one. This is the small opossum when it's finished. So there's definitely a difference in size, which makes it easier, of course, if you take the bigger one. Okay, so there are 4 colors of fabric that you're going to need: gray, pink, white, and black. Of course, this is if you want to make a standard opossum. If you want to make an albino opossum, a Halloween one, or a Christmas one, of course, knock yourself out and choose other colors, but for this tutorial and the normal opossum colors, I'm going with these 4. First of all, grab your gray fabric. Let's set those aside. There we go. Put it down so that the, other side, oops. Okay, put it down in such a way that your fur is going in the right direction, that it's going down. That's going to be easier for yourself. Of course, if you're working with fleece, never mind about the fur direction, but of course I'm working with Minky, so I'm going to have to do that. So put it on the good side, with the good side down on your table. Take your body main piece and grab a marker to trace around with. So keep it down in place and trace all around it. And then also don't forget to trace here in the tail line, so you have this on your fabric. And the same for the ears. Mark the 2 lines where the ears need to go and 2 dots for your eyes. There we go. And oh, my eye is not there. Oh, there we go. It should look something like this. So once you have that, cut it out in a big piece around it. So like you have a big rectangle, which should be going over here. Like that. So let's do that now. Just make sure that you have plenty of extra room around your traced shape of your body. Put the gray away for now. You can put this one in the middle of your table because you're going to need to trace this on top. So I'm going to try to explain this as clear as I can, but here we go. I'm putting it a little bit closer. So what you want to do is you want to align your face so that, as you can see, when it lines up here, it comes back too far to the back. It might mean your face will be too close to your ear markings. So you want to move it up a little bit, just like that. And you'll see that the lines from the head that you traced before, the other one is over here, that you see it's falling inside of your face, which is normal because we want the lines of the face, which is going to be the white part, we want that to be outside of the lines from our body. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So just go ahead and trace around it. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So all around. There we go. There we go. So this is what it looks like. And let me zoom in a little bit more if I can. Yep. So we want this to be overlapping. Why? Because this is the part, like this is the part that you will see with applique. This is the one that will stay on top of your face as white. But we do not want these lines to show. Why? Because otherwise it will give a very bulky seam on the side of your animal. Let me go ahead and get my example possum so I can show you better. So what I mean is, if you were to put your face over there, you sew the face over here to the gray, and then you go ahead and put the belly on the underside and sew that again on the same seam. You will have a very bulky seam and it will show up here on the side. Now, if we sew it here, it will end up on the inside of our opossum, so we won't see this line that keeps the face in place, which means that it's going to be hidden and it's going to be a clean seam. So yeah, just trust me on this one. No, serious. So once you've traced the face, whew, that's a tongue twister. Once you have traced this part, put it away. You won't need it anymore unless you're going to make a lot more possums. And you now want to take your white fabric. So white fabric, put it next to the traced body on the gray one. Make sure that your fabric is going down, as always, if you are working with fur fabric like minky. And the thing that you want now is you want to have a strip of white, like a rectangle of white fabric that is big enough to go underneath this part of your gray and make sure that it covers all of the face. So basically, if you get your face piece and you put it on the white, you need to have a lot of extra, like I say a lot, but like an inch below and an inch on top. That should be enough. So let me go ahead and show you guys. It doesn't have to be neat, it just has to be big enough. So you go ahead and cut that out. Just like that. Put the rest of your white fabric away. And now what you want to do, you can keep your white with the face down, so with the good side down on your table. Put the gray on top of it, just like that. Make sure that you feel a little bit so that you can verify that everything is covered underneath by white fabric. That is, everywhere there's a double layer. Once you got that down, just pin it in place so the white doesn't move. Let me go ahead and get some more pins. So I went ahead and I did some pinning. The white is now on this side all fixed. As you can see, it will not be going anywhere. And both of the fabrics, if you're working with furry fabrics like minky, need to have the fabric going down. So from the nose to the butt, which means this has to be stroked in this direction and it should lay smooth. Same for this one. So yeah, that's important. Both have to have the right sides up, unless of course you're turning it over on the sewing side. These have to be, the furs have to be both facing down on this side, which I know makes sense, but I'd like to repeat it just to be sure that I'm not missing anything. Again, you guys, it's my first in-length plush video tutorial, so bear with me if I'm making any mistakes. But yeah, I'm trying to explain it as well as possible. Anyway, let's go to the sewing machine. The thing, I'm not gonna film sewing, or maybe I should. No, I'm just gonna take you guys with me so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we want to sew on the outer line that we drew last for the face. Normally you would want to have white fabric in the bobbin underneath. Unfortunately, mine was already wound up with black and I don't have a spare one with me at the moment, so I will just be doing it with black. Normally it will not be such a problem because it's on a very small stitch length, but if you can, change it out for white, especially on the bottom. So sewing this outside line. Make sure you follow the lines exactly as they are drawn on your fabric. If there's a tight corner, don't hesitate. Do like I do. Lift up your pressure foot and then continue your turn. It will make it much easier for small turns. Now, in this middle point, I know it ends on a point, but just make 1 or 2 very small stitches because it will make it easier to turn and make a V shape, especially afterwards if you have to cut off the excess fabric from the face. Almost there. And then the top. Okay, there we go. Scissors. Snipping it off. Okay, so now what we do next is cleaning off the face. So what I mean with cleaning the face is cutting off all of the excess fabric that is around it. When you just take it off your machine, also don't forget to take out your pins. When you just take it off the machine, it will not be very easy maybe to see the shape, especially if you have minky. But there's a very easy way to do that, and that's just stroking it until all of the hairs are in the right direction, just like that. Oops, off camera, just like that. So if you stroke it a little bit, you will see that the right face shape is popping up. Start by cutting off the long lengths of your thread. There we go. And then cutting around the white face. As you can see, I'm taking a very small scissors. Why? Because it's easier and because you're less likely than to cut in your fabric underneath. But normally when you're cutting and you just keep your, let me hold that a little bit closer. When you're cutting and you're holding your scissors straight like this, you will never cut into the fabric on the bottom. Just go against the seam. You will feel where your scissors cannot go any more to the left or to the side where your seam is, just because it won't go underneath. That's because you took so small stitches, such a small stitch length that it cannot go underneath, which is a good thing. That's what we want. So but yeah, start by going around. Also, don't worry if it's not very close to the edge from the very first round. You can still clean it up later. So cutting all the way around. There we go. Now, as you can see, I still have some left. Those three sides, you don't have to worry about them too much because they will be hidden inside of your opossum. But those, the V shape, that's what should be very clean, because that's the side that you will see on your plush. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim some more just because I want to have that clean. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So this is what we want. This is going to be the face, and this is also where the eyes are going to go in. So, but that's for a later step. Now let's continue with making the belly so we can put the body together. So for the belly, take some white fabric again, and you want to have the white fabric as big or as wide as the width of your top body part. Why? Because it's easier and you have two exact same shapes at the end, but you know, if you want to make it bigger, that's also as well, that's also good. But what is important is that you make it as long, because let's call this the width and this the length, but you want to make it as long that it just covers the same amount of white as it is on the top, so that the chin from the bottom of your opossum has the same amount of white as it has on the top. I will just show you because it's going to be easier than just explaining it like this. So white fabric, like that. I'm putting it next to it. I'm not sure if this is showing up. Yeah, it is, but let me adjust the camera a little bit. Yeah. Okay, that's better. So, as I said, you want it to be just up till here, the white fabric, but you also want to have a little bit of extra because you need to sew this white chin part to the rest of the body, which is going to be gray. So let me go ahead and just see how much I want. This is a more or less game, guys, so don't take it too literally. Just make sure that it just aligns more or less with the top face part that is white. There we go. So lay the white aside again. And this is what I mean. So you want to have white. Oh, you want to have white fabric. If you lay it on top and you align, oh, right. Also important, your fabric again needs to go in the right direction. Same direction as the body. This is also the same direction that the belly should go for the fur. So what I mean is, if you lay this in the same length and the same line as your top, you have to make sure that the white, it more or less comes to where your face ends, keeping in mind that you will need that extra half an inch to, or half, at least 1 centimeter to sew it together with the rest of the gray fabric that will be on the belly side. Okay, I'm just gonna keep showing it so it makes more sense. Bear with me. So next you take a little bit of gray fabric, put your body on top, cut out the same width, and stop where the line of the face is and just take it off, and that's your width. Just so you have a square like that. Put your gray fabric away. And what this means is, if you put them next to each other, oops, if you put them next to each other with the furs in the same direction, you put the white on top. The part of the belly, as you can see, should be a little bit bigger. If we align them, there's a difference, as you can see. That's normal. Why? Because we want those two to be sewn together. And then when we have a seam over here, they will be more or less the same length. That's what we want. So go ahead, do that. So these two together. So the best way to do that without messing up the fur direction is just putting them over on top of each other, white on top, gray on the bottom. Have the furs going in the same direction, and then just take the top of your white and flip it over. And this is where you should sew. Okay, so go ahead and do that first. Okay, so there we go. I have sewn the chin and the belly parts together, as you can see, there's quite a big seam. So we don't want that because that's going to be difficult to sew it afterwards. Snip off this seam as closely to the edge as you can without endangering cutting into the seam or cutting into your thread. So let me just go ahead and do that. More or less. There we go. And it's gonna lay way flat, more flat. So we should have something that has about the same length in total. And if you align the top of the chin of the white with the top of the body, top, back, body, you know, the part where you traced where the face is on, they should have about the same length of white. So if you put the face on top of it, so the top of the body on your belly part, you should see that if you align them at the top, that if you feel for the seam here, it should be at the same length as your face. So what's next, you guys? Pinning all around so that your top of your body and your belly are fixed together and those pieces are not moving anywhere. And then we're going to sew all around it, but that's for the next step. So start pinning. Okay, so once it's all pinned all around, we want to sew the whole thing, but let me zoom in a little bit. You are you want to keep some things open. So the top of the nose, the four edges of the legs, and optionally, if you have a tag that you want to put in there from like your business or something, you want to keep this one open as well so you can insert your tag afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew this all up and I will come back to you guys. There are two important things that I forgot to mention and I want to show them as I'm sewing. So as you can see, as you can remember, we have the inside line over here that we drew first for the body. This is the one where you have to sew right now. So do this on both sides. So you only follow the inside line. And also very important, if you sew your body, start from the top to the bottom and then come back when you're at the bottom, stop, cut off your thread, come back to the top and do that side. So not go all around, no, just go to the bottom, snip it off, come back to the top, do that side. This will prevent your body from twisting, so yeah. Okay, so and then once you have sewn all of the body, leaving the legs, the top of the nose and optionally the bottom open, you want to cut out all of the body all around, leaving a very small bit of seam just because you don't want it to unravel, but you also want to keep the bulk of the seam on the inside as small as possible. So here we go. I'm using a small embroidery scissors for this just because it gives me the opportunity to work a little bit more precise. So when everything is cut out, it should look something like this on the top and this at the bottom. Lay your body piece aside and take pink and black because we are going to make the legs. So pink and black. All right. Okay, so what you want is the top of the legs. Look a little bit how much you would need to, as a length, to get one of those of the top. Oh, that's really out of focus. So you just want to have the top of the legs, and that should be fitting on the part, on the black fabric part that you're cutting out. So let me just demonstrate that and get a scissors. Okay, so it should fit two of the top of the legs, so 1 and 2 next to each other. which means I can cut it off over here, roughly. And then you're gonna do 3 more of these. So put them on top of your fabric. Cut them out. Again, this is roughly, guys. You just have to make sure that your legs fit on there. And that's all. There we go. 4 parts of that black that can fit the top of our legs, 2 next to each other. That's 1. Now take your pink. Do the same for squares, but this time it only has to fit top at the bottom of the leg, so that will be a lot less. So laying out the pink, there we go. So just a little paw, it's not much, but 2 next to each other again, so 1, 2, which means I would cut over here. You need to have a little bit of extra though, because you will lose a little bit of the seam to sew the pink toes to the black of the legs. So a little bit of extra is wanted. Ooh, the sun is coming out. So yeah, again, 4 of those. Nothing fancy, just 4 squares, or at least rectangles, because squares have the same size on all of the sides, and these do not. Okay, there we go. 4 of those. And the first assignment that you get now for the legs is sewing those together. So put them with the right side up towards you, so you can check the direction of the fur. Pink as well. Pink should be at the bottom, which means that the fur should be going from the top to the bottom. So what you do with your bottom pink, you flip it over, put it on your black, and sew it right here. Do that 4 times. Okay, so once you have sewn the top and the bottom of the legs, you want to cut back the seams allowance, so the extra fabric, as much as possible, because we do not want that much bulk inside of our tiny legs. So there we go. As small as possible. Do this for the 4 legs again. So now you have 4 of these assembled sides for the legs, and you can put 2 of them aside. The other 2, you flip them over so you have the bad sides, I mean the inside side. You know, the good sides should be facing down on your table. Take your pattern piece from your leg and trace it 2 times per piece. And you want to keep the line of the legs on the line of your seam between the pink and the black. Now obviously black markers will not work on black fabric, so I have a gold marker to go over those parts on the black fabric, but white markers work as well. Personally, I use Posca markers because those are paint markers and they work extremely well and they stay very visible during sewing. So yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and trace. I do not want to have them on the side all that much. Let's see, all around, and then keep it there. Okay, and then the gold. Trace it a second time. Make sure you leave some space between the two legs because otherwise it's going to be hard to cut in between them after sewing. So that's how we trace the legs. It should look something like this. Do that again on this side. Now take the two sides that you have not traced, put them with the right side up, so with the soft side of the fabric facing you. Take your traced pieces, put them on top of the untraced ones, good size together, and make sure that the line where the pink and the black overlap, that those are aligned perfectly, or at least as good as you can, and pin them down like this. Okay, so once you have pinned those two, the four actually, sides together for the legs, sew around all four of them, but leave the top open because you will need that afterwards to turn them right side out. Now, once that you have sewn those, cut them out from their seam allowance so that you have just the legs left. Now, the legs all need to be turned right side out. With these, the easy legs, the round legs, this is not a big issue. You can just go ahead and turn them right side out, just like that. Of course, that's easier said than done when I'm just saying it on camera, but there we go. Especially for the big size of the opossum, this is quite easy. But of course, if you have these legs, the very tiny toes, you might want to push those inwards first. So let me show you what I mean. So for this, I need you to take your forceps. You will need those for this project because they're just super easy. Grab the tip of your foot, and if you have toes, each toe individually, and push them inwards like this. As you can see, do this first for the four toes, for the three toes, if you have those, if you have chosen to sew those, then push in the rest of the foot and push it out like this. This is also one easy way to turn the feet out, right side out. Do this for all four of the legs. Next, take your earpiece, your ear part, and make a black, or cut out a black part that is big enough to put two of those next to each other, as well as the pink part. As you can see, the ones that I cut over here are quite a bit bigger than my ears, but I want that because first of all, I have to sew them together over here. Second of all, they're small pieces and I want to have a little bit of extra fabric to sew them together just because that's easier and it will not shift on me as easily under my pressure foot from my machine. So yeah, anyway, start with cutting two of those of pink, two of black, and then sew them together like you did for the legs, and we'll come back to this. And just like you did for the legs, make sure you cut off all of this extra because it will get way too bulky in such a small ear, so make sure to snip that off. There we go. And then take one of those, take your earpiece, put it on there like you did for the legs, and now trace 2 times next to each other. First, the base of the ear right there. There we go. Oh, a little bit further, otherwise you cannot cut in between those, that will be too hard. Like that. And then the top part. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we have a top and we have a bottom, and then we want to put the other side underneath. There's a little bit of plush everywhere. Put the traced side on top, making sure that the edges align for the pink and the black on both sides, and pin them together, and then sew all around the ear, leaving the bottoms open. There we go, the ears are all sewn, and now just cut them out of their seam allowance. Then it's just a matter of turning the ears right side out. You can do this the same way as you did for the legs by pushing the top in and turning them out like that, or you can just use your fingers for the bigger size, because that will work as well. Okay, so next you take your tail and your nose piece and you trace them both on pink fabric. Make sure that you have some extra fabric on all of the sides so that it's easier to sew them afterwards, and then, you know, do it 2 times because you have 2 sides on a tail and 2 sides on a nose, obviously. So make sure that your fur is going in the right direction as marked by the red arrows on your pieces. Same for the nose. Tracing it all around. There we go. And then it's just a matter of cutting those out with a little bit of excess on the side. Just like that. Same for the nose. And then you just want a second piece that is just the same size, so put it on there again. In this case, I have some bad fabric on this side, so okay, so put it on there again. Cut a second piece that's about the same size. And just like that. Same for the tail. Put it on there. And cut it out. So they have 2 sides. Put your fabric aside. And now you have 2 parts for the tail, 2 parts for the nose. Put the fabrics with the right sides together, the furs facing, going the same direction for both of them. And now head over to your sewing machine. You want to sew the tail from top to bottom. Stop here, snip off your thread, again sewing from top to bottom. Do not go like this because it will twist your tail. So top, bottom, top, bottom. Leave this one open at the top because you need to turn them right side out. And then from the nose, you can just sew around. It's too small to twist, so but leave the bottom open also because we need to turn this right side out. So to the sewing machine. Okay, so once that's done, once you have sewn the tail and the nose, cut out the extra fabric around them. Again, try to make sure to have the leftover at the seam, make it as small as possible. This will help with turning them right side out. For the big possum, it's not a big issue for the tail because it's big enough anyway. But for the small possum, it will be a very big issue if you leave a big part of fabric next to your seam, because it will make it difficult to turn them right side out. So definitely make sure that you try to leave as small an amount of fabric next to your seams as you can. So same for the nose. The nose is of course not that hard to turn right side out, so it's not that much of a big deal. It's gonna be stuffed anyway, so it doesn't really mind if it's a little bit bulkier. But yeah, so the nose, you can just poke your finger in there, Turn them right side out. There we go. I just like to use my forceps to poke in there a little bit so all the seams are pushed out. There we go. A little nose. Put it aside. For the tail, with the bigger ones, also with smaller ones, I'd like to take the tip and push it inwards like we did for the legs. This might be some fiddling, because with the bigger size it should be easier, but with the small size you might have some issues and you might have to start here at the top and try to roll them up like this. With the big ones it's not a big issue. You can just push the top in and come out here at the back, at the top at least. So, you know, it's just turning the right side out, just like that. Poking in a little bit so you have the tip all the way out. And there we go. And that's the tail for the big opossum. It's a big difference, guys. Look, this is the small one, this is the big one. So turning this right side out is definitely harder, which is also one of the reasons we are covered in fuzz, which is also one of the reasons that I mark the smaller patterns, smaller pattern size, as more difficult, more advanced. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue with our big opossum. You will not need your sewing machine anymore as of this, from this moment on. The rest will be hand sewing on the 4 legs, hand sewing on the 2 ears, the nose, and the tail. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make is give our opossum eyes. Now, watch where you have put the dots for the eyes. With me, I feel like they are a little bit too short to the edge of where I stitched my face, so feel free to adjust the dots for the eyes if you want to. So to my feeling, I would put this one there. Make sure that they are at the same height though, that's important. So yeah, I think this will be okay. Then take your forceps and insert it into the nose at the tip, making sure that you have at the top, you have the layer of the face, the white, and the gray layer of the body base. And underneath you only have the chin. So underneath 1 layer, on top you should have 2 layers of fabric. And insert it. Why? Because next you have to cut open the holes for the eye. And you want to have something underneath here so that you can make sure that you only cut through the first 2 layers of your face fabric and not on the chin. That's very important. Take a very small, sharp pair of scissors. Go ahead and cut through. Make sure that you also cut through the white below. Otherwise you will not be able to get your eye through. Same for the other side. Making sure that you keep your forceps underneath so you're not accidentally cutting in the layer below and the chin. There we go. I should be able to have gotten everything. Okay, so for the bigger size opossum I use 8 or 10 millimeter eyes. These are 10. And for the small size opossum I use 6 or 8. 6 will be like the example that I have, so I think 6 might be better, but 8 is a little bit easier to put the washers on, so it's a bit up to you which size of eyes that you want. But yeah, I insert them through the nose at the top because, you know, that's just easy. Pop them right in if they want to. You can also use put the eye in first. That's sometimes a little bit easier. It doesn't want to. There we go. Okay, guide them in all the way to where you have made a hole for the eye to sit. And if you've done it right, you should be able to come out. There we go. Through the 2 layers from the face and the head base. There we go. One eye in place. Take one of your washers and push it over all the way down. If you have an extra, yeah, that's it. That's as far as it's gonna go. Okay. Same for the second eye. Putting it in. Making sure that it's also on top so that the face is not, that it's not below the face. That's one, but yeah. Anyway. So then we push it up. Trying to find, yep, the 2 holes that we made. There we go. Okay, 2 eyes. Also put the washer on. Nope. That's it. Okay. Now, these washers are a little bit too long. So what you want to do is snip those off with either a pair of clippers or very old scissors that you don't care about if they're ever broken. Okay. These should do the job. Yeah, that was much easier. That was off camera. Sorry, guys. I'm doing it again. There we go. Tops are off. Okay. This will just, you know, if they are staying the same length that they are originally, they will poke through your chin all the time. And I don't really like that feeling, so that's why I'm cutting off the eyes. It's not obligated to do it, but I think it feels nicer when there's not 2 very hard things poking through the chin of your face. So yeah. Anyway, the next step is turning your opossum over on its back so that the belly is facing you. And then you're gonna have to make a opening in the belly, like this much, more or less. Make sure it's in the middle, or more or less. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Mine is not in the middle apparently, so let me retry that. This is the middle. Okay. If it's 2 fingers wide, that's enough. You don't really need much more than that, so that's okay. Keep your forceps in there if you're not sure if you can do this without accidentally cutting the fabric from the back below. So making a small snip and cutting it open. There we go. All right, so now grab your little nose, grab a tiny bit of stuffing. You will not need much. Rub it between your hands so it becomes a very tight little ball, like that. And then I do this with my forceps because it's easier, but I just shove it in the nose like that. And trying to get it to stay is always a bit difficult at the start, but you will get there eventually. There we go. All right, nose is firmly stuffed. Now take your forceps again, insert it in the nose. So again, you only want to have the layer of the chin laying on the front, on the top of your forceps, and there should be 2 layers on the bottom now for the face and the gray of your body. So go in. If it's all right, you should come out here at the belly opening. Grab the, hold on, let me think about this one, the bottom. Grab the bottom of your nose. Try to pinch them together like that. So they are closed when you pinch them. Lay them flat like that. Pull them inside the body all the way to the front, to the snout, and do not pull them out. So be gentle at the end. So you just wiggle them a little bit so you can see the edges, just like that. Now you want to hand sew this so that the top of the nose is sandwiched firmly in between the layers of the snout. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I sew all of my my extra things, so the nose, the ears, all that. I sew all of those on with a blanket stitch, and I just want to show you guys what that is exactly. So that means going through with your needle, poking through all of the layers, so you can have the layer of the chin, the two of the nose, and then actually the two, so it's 5 in total, 2 layers of the top as well. So push your needle through, but right before your thread would be all at the end, so not pull it all the way, you insert your needle again from the front to the back towards you through the loop. Take your needle and pull it. That way it makes a little bit of a knot and it should hold. So by doing that and going through all of the layers like that, you actually make a tiny knot each time that you make a stitch, and it's quite sturdy actually. So yeah, that's also how I sew on the ears, the tail, and the legs. But this is the nose already, so we're getting there. Okay, next we are going to sew in the ears, and to do that we first need to open the 2 lines that we have marked for the ear opening. I just put my finger in the bottom, in the belly opening, all the way here through to the head, so that I can keep my finger underneath as I cut open these lines, so I don't cut the fabric underneath from the belly. There we go. Okay, next is grabbing your forceps again and one of the ears. So you want to insert your forceps in one of the ear openings, come out at the belly opening, grab the bottom of one of your ears between your forceps, and then pull it in the body all the way up to the head. Wiggle a little bit so that the bottom of the ear is poking out like that. And then it's just a matter of blanket stitching or just regular stitching, whichever you prefer, to attach the ear in the ear opening, and do the same for the other side. I'll get back to you when that's done. Okay, so this is what it will look like when both of your ears are sewn in. And then next we're going to do the most time-consuming part, which is inserting all of the legs and sewing them in place. I will show you with one how that's gonna go. So put your opossum on their back, insert your forceps in one of the legs at the top, come out at the belly opening, and then grab, let me just think about this one, the top of your leg. So you have to grab it like this, the black part, pull it in until it aligns with the edge of your gray body leg, at least where the leg should have stopped here. So what you want to do now is sew around. Do not sandwich it and sew it like that, like you did for the ears and the nose. You want to sew it all around, because that way you can still have beads inside the bottom of the leg, the black and the pink part of your leg. So let me just go ahead and do that so I can show you what I mean. Okay, so grab your needle and your thread. Your black paw should be inside your base leg of the body. And then search a little bit so you can see where the seam is from the back, from the black leg. So here's the seam. And poke in your needle and make sure that it's aligned with the seam of the gray top of the leg, of the body. So pull through, make sure that you have a knot at the end and that it's here inside of the black. And then it's just a matter of going around. I use blanket stitches again for this because it's just stronger. But yeah, I'll just keep filming so you guys can see what I'm doing. It's a little bit finicky, I know. It's a little bit of poking and seeing what you're doing each stitch, but you know, it works. And it helps to get them attached very strongly and firmly, which is what we want. As you can see, I'm going all the way around. And I should have the seam aligned. Yeah, the seam is aligned here as well with the gray of the body. I got my nose. If it scrunches up a lot, don't worry. You can, oh, sorry, lost my voice. You can pull on it a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, so that it straightens out again. Now, this is what I've now sewn for the top, and you want to do the same for the bottom. So basically just sewing the edges all the way around, and your thread will get caught on other parts of the body, so be aware of that. Trying to stay on camera as much as I can so you guys can see what I'm doing. And there we go, last stitch. And then it's just a matter of making a big knot so everything stays in place. And you have 3 other legs to do that with. So go ahead, do that, and then pause it in the meantime, and then come back to the video. See you then. Okay, so once your 4 legs are all sewn on, leave them on the inside, that's okay. We are now going to do the last bit, and that's the tail. We need to cut open this line for where the tail is gonna go. So go ahead and do that. Like that. Make sure it's in the middle of the back legs. Take your tail. Insert your forceps in the tail opening through the belly opening. Grab the base of your tail. Pull it in all the way out to the tail opening. There we go. Just the top of it is enough. Let me just, it's a little bit of fiddling to get it right. You can do it though. It's just a little bit of wiggling around. There we go. And then you just sew that in place with a blanket stitch or any stitch of your preference. And then there's only one thing left to do before we can turn them right side out. And that's optional, and that's adding a tush tag in here. So I'm gonna do both of those things and I will get back to you. Okay, so I have sewn in the top of my tail, I have sewn in my tush tag, and now it's the moment of truth. We're going to turn our opossum right side out. The tail will probably still be sticking out, so push that out. Then the legs, they should also be very easy because they are already sticking out on the inside. Just push everything right side out, little by little. There we go. And then the front. Oops. We have 4 paws and a body. And then the head. The head might need a little bit of persuasion because the ears are in there and the eyes. But just, you can also use your forceps and push it in a little bit if you want. I actually think if I'm grabbing the nose from the inside, it might get easier. There we go. Try not to pull too hard. There we go. That's a big opossum. A big, still pocket-sized, because he still fits my hand. So, okay. I'm gonna push out everything from the face so it's the shape that I want it to be. There we go. Ears are, check that everything is in place where you want it to be, that all of the seams are closed, like where you attached the bottom of the legs to the base of the legs on the body, the ears, the nose, everything is secure. Do a little bit of this so all the fluff is off. If you're using Minky, you will probably have a lot of fluff. But yeah, this is the easiest version of the pattern because there's no toes and because it's a bigger size. Let me go ahead and grab the little one just as a comparison. So this is the big one and the smaller one as a comparison to each other. As you can see, there's a very big difference, and I just now noticed that I used a different type of gray for my little one than I did for the big one. So as you can see, it still works. It's just a matter of preference, but yeah, both will work. Okay, let's stuff our big guy with beads, and we will do a leather stitch so we can close him up. With the beads, you will notice that they will probably be stuck here where your black and gray in the legs meet. This is because there's quite a bit of bulk in the seams in the inside. So you just have to push the beads a little bit in the legs so that they end up in here. It also helps to shake, but you have to keep your opening from the belly closed, otherwise the beads are flying everywhere. So if you're doing that, they should also get in the legs. Some are a little bit harder than the others, but they can be persuaded. Okay, for the last step, ladder stitching our belly closed, you're going to need a long piece of thread on your needle, and you have to make a triple knot, or at least a triple knot, maybe 4 times if you can, at the end, because we are going to pull pretty strongly on this thread. You will need either very strong unbreakable upholstery thread, or you have to thread your needle double so that you have, like this one, so that you have 2 strands of thread, which makes it more, which makes it stronger so you can pull harder. But yeah, I do at least 3 or 4 knots if I can. Let's do a 4th one. There we go. And then it's a matter of inserting your needle at the top. Go in at the tip there where you cut the belly opening and come out. So this way, when you pull, your knot will be on the inside. You insert your needle in one side of the fabric of the opening and then come out again. Try to make this a very small stitch. Take your thread through, but do not pull tight. If there's beads falling out in the meantime, don't worry, that's normal. You will probably lose some along the way. Do the same on the other side, so just go over your opening, do the same in and back out. Make sure that you grab enough of the fabric, but not make your stitch too big, like that. Also stretch your belly opening from time to time, so you're still doing this straight. Again, so cross opening, left in and out. Again, in and out. And then you go back and forth like this all the time until you're at the end. As you can see, I'm not pulling my thread anywhere. That's the last step. Pulling tight is only when you're here at the very end. That's when you pull tight. So when you're here, you just pull the end of your thread. Keep your other hand on the head so you can kind of give it a little bit of counter. And there we go. All closed. With Minky, this will be practically all invisible, especially if you took out the little hairs that are caught in the seams. It will practically be invisible when it's used. With fabrics like fleece, you will see it a little bit. It will just show up like a regular side seam, but that's fine. It's okay. I mean, it's a plush and they should have seams. So, but yeah, do not knot off your thread here. Instead, insert your needle again where you stopped. Come out again here at the top, at the bottom, at your legs. Oops. That way you can knot off your thread here, which will be way less visible than when you were doing it at the middle of the belly. So make 2 or 3 knots. I'm just gonna do 3. Okay, so 3 knots. And then instead of snipping it off here, you're gonna insert your needle right next to your knot. Go in the body, come up somewhere random, doesn't matter where you're coming out, but just make sure it's far enough. Pull it a little bit so the knot gets dragged into the body. I'm just pulling out the little hairs that are getting caught in there. There we go. Knot is now hidden in the belly. And then you can pull the thread here and snip it off, but I like to go in my body once more and come out another place. This is because I feel like it keeps the knot inside the body even better, but that's totally optional. So get your scissors, pull the thread a little bit, snip it off just against the skin, and there will be no thread end visible, and your knot will be hidden. So yeah, there we go, guys. Your opossum is ready. Thank you so much for following with the tutorial. I really hope it was clear and that you guys understood every step and that it went okay, that you were able to finish your own opossum. One little thing that I want to say for patrons, if you decided to join my Patreon, or if you decided to, you know, try out the pattern, and if you want to sell them, you can absolutely sell any of the plushies that you make with this pattern or any of my other patron exclusive patterns. The only thing that I'm asking is that as long as you want to sell them, to please stay a member from my Patreon. Why? Because all of my other patterns, they come with commercial license anyway, but they are quite a bit more expensive in that sense that my Patreon offers a lot more advantage for a smaller price per month than if you were to go and buy patterns online in my shop that anyone can get for a bigger price. So yeah, that's actually my only thing that I'm requesting, if it's like the correct word. But yeah, it would be fun if you would stay a Patreon member, at least as long as you decide to sell plushies from the exclusive patterns, because, you know, support small artists. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up over here because this guy is falling. But I really want to thank you all for the support. I really hope you love these small guys. And if you're a member, or even if you're following me on Instagram and you have any suggestions, please let me know. I always like to hear ideas of what other kinds of plush that you want to see that I should make. Just shout out. I love hearing your feedbacks. So bye and have a very merry day.